All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We constantly hear rumblings about global tensions, right? Whether it's conflicts in Eastern Europe, unrest in the Middle East, it's super easy to brush these off as just headlines happening miles away. But, history and economics tell us a totally different story. Whenever global supply chains snap, governments tend to panic. They print massive amounts of money to save their economies. And guess who ends up paying the price? Yep, everyday citizens like us. So we're going to look at why relying solely on cash during these times might actually be your absolute biggest financial risk, and exactly how to protect yourself instead.
So ask yourself this one crucial question. Really think about it for a second. If a major global crisis hit literally tomorrow, would your cash save you, or would it drag you down? We're so conditioned to believe that cash sitting comfortably in a bank account or tucked away in a safe at home is the ultimate security blanket. We feel like they have total control over it. But actually, during a crisis, the purchasing power of that cash can plummet at terrifying speeds. And you know what? You don't even have to look that far back to see this play out in real life.
Just look at history. Post-WW Japan is a perfect example. Severe inflation basically crashed their currency. So, in a desperate bid to save the economy, the government took some incredibly drastic measures. I'm talking about people who had saved millions in their bank accounts suddenly finding themselves out on the streets. They couldn't even access their own money. The government literally froze accounts overnight. And to make matters worse, by the time they were finally allowed to withdraw those funds, extreme inflation had made their life savings practically worthless. This is the hidden danger of being entirely dependent on fiat currency. Money that only has value because a government says it does.
And hey, we don't even need a world war to see these kinds of effects today. Just look at how global tensions mess with our everyday necessities. 1 minute, an LPG cylinder costs you 800 rupees, and the next, during a crisis, it shoots up to over 3,000 on the black market. When borders tighten, the prices of basic survival needs, things like petrol, food, cooking gas, they just skyrocket. It's usually the middle and lower middle classes who get completely crushed by this, mainly because their only real asset is cash. When a crisis hits, cash simply cannot keep pace with hyperinflated prices for the basics.
To really grasp how to survive this kind of scenario, let's look at a tale of two mindsets. Meet Suresh and his friend Rocky. Suresh is our classic cash-dependent guy. He commutes every single day, deals with a demanding boss, and earns around 25,000 rupees a month. But here's the kicker. About 80% of that is gone before his next paycheck even arrives. He's stressed, constantly arguing at home about money. Then you have Rocky. Rocky earns roughly the exact same amount, but he lives a completely financially free life. He takes his wife out on weekends, dines at nice restaurants, and seems totally unfazed by financial pressure, while Suresh finally hits his breaking point and begs Rocky for his secret.
So let's look at asset number 1, skills and knowledge.
Desperate for answers, Suresh asks for advice. Rocky tells him to start by building his financial knowledge, recommending 3 specific books. But when Suresh sees the books cost 2,500 rupees, his cash-hoarding mindset immediately kicks in. He absolutely refuses to buy them. He figures, hey, I could buy a month's worth of cigarettes with that. Yet, literally moments later, he eagerly tries to bet thousands of rupees on a fake insider tip about a fixed cricket match. Rocky just stops him right there and hits him with his brutal but totally necessary truth. You don't want to be capable, you just want money.
It's a tough pill to swallow, right? But the absolute crucial point here is that cutting out those trivial expenses to invest in your own capabilities is literally the only way to ensure you never remain unemployed, even if you got fired tomorrow. Rocky explains that his peace of mind comes from knowing that if he lost his job today, he wouldn't panic at all. He spent his extra time and money developing a diverse set of skills. Look, if you are entirely dependent on just one salary, you are incredibly vulnerable. So your very first asset absolutely must be your own skill set, because no economic crisis and no government can ever take that away from you.
All right, moving on to asset number 2, precious metals. The very next day in the office canteen, Suresh notices Rocky is sporting this flashy 24-karat pure gold watch. Suresh kind of mocks him, saying his cheap plastic watch tells the exact same time. But Rocky corrects him. He shows him it's not about fashion at all. It's actually a serious financial shield. He bought it 5 years ago for 5 lakh rupees, and its value has absolutely surged. Why? Simply because the market price of pure gold skyrocketed. It's basically a vehicle for wealth preservation that effortlessly multiplied his initial investment without him having to lift a single finger.
And this brilliantly illustrates how physical gold and silver act as the perfect hedge to beat inflation. They're universally accepted and totally immune to government control.
Think about it, it's like nature's currency. If things got really bad and you had to flee your country tomorrow, nobody across the border is going to want your local paper currency. No way. But gold and silver, they hold intrinsic value anywhere on the planet. By converting a portion of your vulnerable fiat cash into precious metals, you're essentially stepping completely outside the system that governments can control or freeze.
That brings us to asset number 3, digital assets.
Now, Suresh is still scratching his head, wondering how Rocky has so much free time. He checks out Rocky's Instagram and sees he's selling a video editing course, which is crazy because Rocky doesn't know the first thing about video editing. Well, the secret is automated delegation. Rocky used some of his capital to pay a freelancer 25 grand to build the entire course. Now he just handles the marketing side on Instagram in his spare time. He completely recovered his initial costs in just 3 months, and today, every single sale is continuous pure profit running on autopilot. That is the incredible power of a digital asset. You build it once, and it just keeps paying you over and over.
Let's dive into our final 2, assets number 4 and 5, real estate and foreign currency.
As Suresh's mindset starts to shift, he remembers his dad always saying, land never betrays you. And yeah, that's true, but there is a major catch. Instead of trapping yourself in lifelong debt to buy some tiny, wildly expensive apartment right inside a developed city, you've got to use the city expansion strategy. Basically, you research government plans and buy affordable land way out on the outskirts, specifically where new highways, metros, or airports are planned for the next 5 to 10 years. When development finally reaches that area, the value of that cheap land skyrockets, and that is how you create real generational wealth.
Finally, Rocky's friend Azad joins the conversation and asks Suresh a simple question. What currency are your savings in? Suresh scoffs and says rupees, obviously. But Azad points out a pretty harsh reality. Developing nation currencies often lose ground to developed ones over time. Look at the US dollar to the Indian rupee exchange rate. A few years ago, $1 was 70 rupees. Today, it's pushing 94. So if literally all of your savings are tied up in a weakening currency, you are silently losing your global purchasing power every single day without even realizing it.
But Azad explains that smart investors don't panic, they adapt. They use side hustles to earn and save in stronger currencies like the dollar, which completely neutralizes their local inflation worries. Azad actually runs a part-time dropshipping business selling to foreign clients. By earning in US dollars and spending in rupees, he basically bypasses local inflation altogether. And thanks to the internet, honestly, anyone can do this. You can freelance, create content, or offer remote services to tap into those stronger global currencies. It's a fantastic way to build a real financial fortress.
All right, so to stop relying entirely on vulnerable cash, you've got to remember to build these 5 wealth-protecting assets. We've definitely covered a lot of ground in this explainer today. By prioritizing your own skills and knowledge, you ensure you can always generate income. By securing precious metals, you step right outside the easily manipulated fiat system. Creating digital assets builds those sweet automated income streams. Using the city expansion strategy for real estate lets you ride the massive wave of inevitable development. And finally, tapping into foreign currency protects your global purchasing power.
I'm going to leave you with this final, critical thought to ponder tonight. If your bank accounts were suddenly frozen tomorrow, no access to your cash whatsoever, which of these assets would carry you through the crisis? Transitioning from a mindset of just hoarding vulnerable paper cash to actively building resilient assets, it's not just about getting rich, right? It's about survival. It's about peace of mind. Take a page right out of Rocky's book. Start analyzing where your money is actually going and start building the safety nets that will catch you when the system